What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka Descendant of Chaos and Controversy, and this video is in regards to me responding upon request to a comment under one of Beau's videos that he had done about a week ago, addressing a comment directed towards him by a black man, and how should he deal with his anger when confronting racism. When is it appropriate and when is it okay to be an angry black man? Beau went over the content, detail by detail, and at the end, he answered that question with this. He didn't have an answer. Beau doesn't sugarcoat anything, and he doesn't pretend to know what it's like to be in someone else's shoes. All he can say is, I can observe things and give my perspective on it, but at the end of the day, when it comes to answering those tough questions, if he doesn't have an answer, he's not going to pretend that he does and give you some bullshit just to satisfy a narrative, so to speak. Okay? And I can respect him for that. But then, ricocheting off of him not having an answer, someone to know what my input was. It's not easy to dissect it because you can't just give a one answer, one size fit all type to satisfy a person's question. Okay? What I do know is this. The expectation when it comes to dealing with racism coming from black people is that we are to be tolerable, accepting of. And when dealing with those who are ignorant in regards to being vindictive and malicious and hateful, is that at the end of the day, we're supposed to forgive them. Okay? But even with that being said, a line needs to be drawn in the sand. We shouldn't be subjected to such ignorance, even though we are aware that it exists, even though we know the history behind it. But if on one side of the argument people say, well, we're living in today's era where the racism isn't as bad or as extreme as it was back in the day. But the bottom line is, why should it be tolerated? Why is it still accepted? Why are there excuses made for it? And then when, by right, a person affected by such ignorance have a right to express themselves, you tell them that they don't have that right to develop thicker skin. Or if you really want to get down to the condescending rebuttals or responses, hey, at least you're not hanging from a tree. At least you're not being whipped on the back where there's lacerations that are presented and are visible and need to be treated. When I say that certain things evolve to adapt to the times, I mean just that. Just because it isn't as extreme as it was doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And just because it's not on the same level as it was doesn't mean that it should be tolerated. And to think that people aren't affected by it or aren't supposed to be affected by it, you're wrong. Just because people don't always react in the way that you think that they would or should doesn't mean that they're accepting of it. They deal with it internally because they are conditioned to do so. Because any reaction warrants repercussions. Or you're put into a certain category, or you're labeled as this, or you're labeled as that. So you're supposed to just brush it off and keep it moving. Otherwise, I don't always harp on accepting people playing the race card. I don't always harp on people with the pro-blackness. But I'm also not dismissive of the fact that stuff still goes on. And that people are subjected to such ignorance and nonsense. I'm very well aware of what exists. And just because certain people have the luxury of living in certain demographics where they don't have to deal with this on a day-to-day basis, they are very fortunate, whereas others aren't. And that's something that we need to take into an account. But we don't. I could tell you that when dealing with my daughter's mom, she would let the N-word fly out her mouth left and right, figuring it would trigger me somehow. And on some days it did. It really got to me. Because you're the mother of a child that we are parenting, and you think or deem it to be acceptable to hurl these racial slurs at me because you feel some kind of way. Okay? And I guess that there's that sense of entitlement, that privilege, so to speak, that some white people feel that they have as far as weaponizing such ignorance to put in their arsenal to attack and feel justified in doing so. And it falls in line of what are you going to do about it? Because society favors me more so than it does you. So go ahead, react. I dare you. See what happens. And that's the mentality that a lot, or should I say, some more so than others, feel that they have, or are conditioned to thinking along, that way, so to speak. But how people respond and how people feel, they're very so much justified and well within their rights to be angry, to be upset. Whereas others tell them that they aren't allowed to do so or be of that. That's my answer to the person in the comment section under Beau's video in regards to the question posed upon Beau. Again, it's one of those things that's hard to dissect because you can have a lot of rebuttals thrown into the debate to argue, to justify why racism is acceptable on one account and why it isn't on another. Anyway, that's all I got. For me, it's not one of those easy things that I like to talk about because it is a touchy subject. It isn't so cut and dry. But That's all I got. That's the best that I can give at this particular moment in time. Um, Tell me what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Please like, share, and comment. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. You already know what I'm gonna do. Peace.